Right now at 6, the Badgers are going bowling. We'll share what the players and fans are saying about the program's return to the Rose Bowl.
And Madison schools are responding to parents concerned about communication after 2 students were shot by a BB gun.
From the Channel3000.com Alert Center, this is News 3 Now this morning.
Good morning, folks, and thanks for waking up with us on your Monday, December 9th. I'm Leah Lynchine.
And I'm Josh Breiter. Meteorologist Adam McLean is talking about some alert days back in the forecast. It's been a hot minute since we've been talking about some active weather.
7 days to be exact of dry weather here across southern Wisconsin, and that ends this morning. Here's your shoe forecast. We're talking a little bit of snow later on this afternoon, but really only light accumulations. So you don't need to pull out the big snow boots for today, but you are going to want to keep your feet warm. Temperatures will be dropping as we go through the afternoon, so keep that in mind. Here's a look at our visibility this morning. We have some pretty thick fog across parts of southern Wisconsin. Quarter-mile visibility in Mineral Point and Monroe, about a mile at the airport here in Madison, as well as Janesville. On the radar map, I zoomed it out so you can see where the snow is. It is well north of the area this morning. We're not seeing any rain here in southern Wisconsin, but we are receiving a little bit of drizzle, so keep that in mind. You'll still likely need the windshield wipers as you hit the roads this morning. Here's a look at your temperature trend through the day. We'll top near 40 this morning and then drop back pretty quickly this afternoon. By 4 o'clock or even by 2 o'clock, temperatures are already below freezing, so we'll see a changeover to some light snow. Could create some slippery spots on the roads. That would be maybe a moderate impact for driving with this particular storm. This isn't going to be anything that you're going to have to shovel, though, here for southern Wisconsin. Here's a look at your traffic maps early today. We have no major issues here in and around Madison or around Dane County. Looks like travel is still going mostly at the posted speeds heading into Madison. Future track wind chills tomorrow morning are going to be close to 0. So coming up in Maine weather, we'll talk about the second part of the system, which is the Arctic air.
Yeah, it's been a while since we've seen negative numbers on any of your graphics.
Yikes.
Yeah, get ready for it.
All right, we've been warned. Thank you very much,
You're
Hattie.
welcome.
Madison street crews are trying to lower salt use, all while keeping the roads snow and ice free.
Our Keely Arthur joins us live from their West Side location to share how. Hi, Keely.
Hi, Leah and Josh. Yes, last year the city used 9,000 tons of salt. That's a lot. Of course, it's going to change year to year because it's all weather dependent. The city says they used a lot more last year compared to previous years because of all the snow events we saw. 40 inches in just 30 days. Only time will tell how much of this is going to have to be used this year. But they say no matter what, they really strive to make it at least appropriate. They say they know the negative impacts salt has on the environment and drinking water. So only 50% of city streets are salt routes, mainly major thoroughfares. They also use brine to pre-treat the roads when appropriate, which is a salt and water mix, all the while remembering that safety is number one.
We're going to continue in our efforts to use as little salt as we can, but also keep the roads safe as well, because safety is the most important thing for us.
So in terms of salt supply, the city, as you can see, is doing just fine despite some earlier snow events that we saw in October and November. And coming up in the next half hour, we're going to show you something really cool, talking about this new GPS software the city is using to make sure that they are efficiently dispersing salt throughout the city. Josh and Leah?
Keely Arthur live in Madison this morning. Keely, thank you.
6:03 on your Monday. Dane County deputies are still looking for a 16-year-old girl missing since last week. Lindsay Olson left her home in Bristol Friday night around 10:30. Officers say someone in a black Pontiac picked her up that evening. She was last seen wearing green Converse shoes and an All Seasons landscaping sweatshirt. Anyone with information about where she might be is asked to call the sheriff's department.
Breaking now into the Channel 3000 Alert Center, authorities say they found the body of a missing Wisconsin toddler. Rice Lake police say they got a call around 9:30 last night reporting a missing 2-year-old girl. They think the toddler may have wandered out the front door, which was open. Search parties joined authorities who used thermal imaging and found the girl unresponsive in a nearby river just before 11. She was taken to the hospital, but medics were unable to revive her. Authorities in Rock County are investigating a shots fired incident that left one person with a gunshot wound.
It happened Saturday night in Janesville on Highway 51 near Prairie Knoll Park. Officers say someone jumped onto the baseboards of a moving car that had slowed down to pick them up. It appears that person had been shot in the leg. They were dropped off near the hospital but never went inside. Rock County deputies found 6 shell casings at that scene.
Looking ahead, Jefferson Middle School's principal says the school will be holding a parent meeting to talk about how they can improve their communication. This after 2 students were shot by a BB gun on the bus last week. In an email to parents, Tequila Kerr says she was not in the area that day and shared parents' frustration that notice about the incident didn't come out until later in the day. 2 girls were shot by a boy with a BB gun on a bus line Tuesday. That boy was arrested the following day, and another boy who had the BB gun in his locker was also arrested. Kurth said in part, "I want you to know we hear you and we are working with district staff to improve communication flow so that you can trust that we will always do our best to get you critical information more quickly." The date and time of that meeting this week is expected to be released.
To national headlines this morning, the FBI says the shooting rampage at a naval station in Florida could have been terror-related.
We are, as we do in most active shooter investigations, work with the presumption that this was an act of terrorism.
The gunman is 21-year-old Mohammed al-Shamrani, a Saudi national who was a naval student at the air station in Pensacola. Al-Shamrani used a lawfully bought gun to kill 3 American airmen and hurt 2 deputies before one of those officers killed him. 8 others were also hurt. President Trump says he will review policies about training foreign militaries in the U.S., but he hasn't said whether he believes that shooting is terror-related.
As the investigation continues, a family is mourning the loss of their son who died in that mass shooting. The parents of 23-year-old Joshua Watson are grief-stricken, but proud of his accomplishments and heroism. Just before Joshua's watch would have ended, the gunfire started. Had it not been for Joshua, that toll would most likely have been much higher.
He wasn't exactly excited about standing watch overnight, but, you know, he knew it was part of his job.
The Watsons say they want people to know about Joshua and his work ethic, and more than anything, they want him remembered as a man who gave his life for others.
Breaking news into the Channel 3000 Alert Center this morning. 5 people are dead and search crews still working to find others who are missing after a volcano at a popular tourist spot erupted. Take a look at this video. It happened early this morning on New Zealand's White Island. Fewer than 50 people are believed to have been on the island at the time, and 23 had already been evacuated. One of those evacuees had died. The White Island volcano is New Zealand's most active volcano.
A Wisconsin man is wondering how some historic bomb materials ended up on his farm. Merle Farkas was helping his neighbor clear brush near his farm in Rib Mountain when he found 2 tank-like objects. Thinking it was boating equipment, he looked closer and found that they were actually 2 empty Mark 77 Mod 4 bomb tanks, also known as napalm bombs. They were also less than 50 yards from his home.
One was kind of laying off by the side, and this other one was really buried underneath a bunch of rubbish. Believe it or not, Google didn't have an answer for that. What can you possess or can you? The next best thing was to call the Marathon County Sheriff's Department.
I guess Google doesn't know everything. Farkas called and had a sheriff take a look. The deputy said Farkas is allowed to have the containers as long as they're not full, but it still leaves the question of where did they come from? The Marathon County Historical Society thinks they could have been from a surplus store and they were likely never used. Farkas doesn't know what he'll do with the newfound pieces of history, but hopes to learn more about their background.
All right, it is a good time to be a sports fan in our state.
Badger football fans are still celebrating this morning after Wisconsin's first invite to the Rose Bowl in 7 years. For the 10th time in team history, the Badgers will be heading back to Pasadena, California for the iconic bowl game. The bowl selection came Sunday while many football fans were watching the Packers beat Washington at Jordan's Big Ten pub on Regent Street. Badger fans like UW graduate Craig Olson and his wife Tess are overjoyed.
You never stop being a Badger, and just to hear them go into the Rose Bowl, you know, it's just the best.
The Badgers face the Oregon Ducks in the Rose Bowl on January 1st.
So the Badgers haven't had the best decade at the Rose Bowl. The last time they won was in 2000 against Stanford. But Jonathan Taylor says the team wants this time to be different.
Biggest thing is that this has a rich, deep tradition here, so definitely want to make sure that we're able to do right by this place. It's been over 20 years since a Wisconsin team has been there and won it. So, we'll definitely have an opportunity to etch our place in history.
Oh, it'll be special, to finish it off the right way. My last game with these guys, it's going to be fun. I'm going to try to have the most fun I've ever had and put on a dominant showcase.
Now, you actually went back in 2011?
2011 when we played TCU, and we lost, unfortunately. It's been 20 years since we've won.
I'm sure that was quite the experience, though.
Oh, it was incredible. It was incredible. But maybe I'm the bad luck charm, so fingers
maybe
crossed
this
it's
is
different.
the time.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to seeing that sea of red up there.
Oh, yeah.
That's going to be awesome. All right, still ahead for us on a Monday morning. We're hearing how protesters at the Packers game are hoping to bring about change and why they're not giving up.
And some alert days for the first half of your work week. Hattie's preparing us for an Arctic blast that's coming up when News 3 Now This Morning returns.
This
Good morning from the Hattie-O patio this morning. We have a pretty heavy drizzle coming down right now. Definitely enough that you'll want to use the windshield wipers at times this morning. Luckily, temperatures are above freezing right now, so it's not freezing on the roads. Alert day is in the forecast, though, for today, so keep that in mind. Any of this liquid precipitation is going to be changing over to some light snow this afternoon. Now, for southern Wisconsin, this isn't going to be a big snowfall at all, less than an inch in most locations. But again, it's that changeover from rain and drizzle to snow that could cause some slippery spots on the roads. Most likely the afternoon commute is going to be impacted. Here's a wide view of what's happening on the radar map this morning. The drizzle's just too light to show up on the radar map here in southern Wisconsin. Can't ignore that band of snow, though, that's working its way through Minnesota into northwestern Wisconsin as we speak. Eventually, it'll be cold enough here that we'll see our precipitation change over to some snow. And winter weather advisories are in effect for areas north north of the Dells. This does include Juneau and Adams counties until 6 p.m. this evening. That's where you could see the greatest impacts with the most snow accumulating. Here's a look at Queen Bee Radio Skycam in Platteville. Not able to see a whole lot. There is fog that has developed overnight, and it is impacting most of southern Wisconsin. Visibility in many spots is less than a mile. Look at the visibility up in the Dells. Half-mile visibility there. Temperature is actually 30, so there could be some slippery spots in our northern viewing area already this morning with that fog and freezing temperatures. Elsewhere, we're well above the freezing point here in Madison and especially Janesville. You're still in the 40s this morning. Wind chills are not a huge factor right now, but watch what happens as we go through the afternoon. It's going to feel like the teens when you head home from work this afternoon, so dress appropriately. It is turning significantly colder later today. Your future track forecast model has 30s this morning, close to 40 degrees in many spots. The drizzle is likely to continue through the morning. You may even see a few light rain showers through the lunch hour. By noon today, that changeover from rain to snow starts to work its way into southern Wisconsin. Areas in the Dells could see a mix at lunchtime. That rain-snow line will work its way across all of southern Wisconsin, so by 5 p.m., we all could be seeing some snowflakes. Not a lot of snow, though, expected with this particular system. It is going to turn significantly colder. Take a look at those highs on Tuesday and Wednesday. Alert days are in the forecast for that big cool down that we're experiencing. We're talking nighttime lows in the single digits, so that means wind chills will be below zero. Let's get a look at your first alert traffic maps now. We'll send it over to Josh Tim for all the details. Good morning, Josh.
Yeah, good morning. There is some dense fog right now here in southern Wisconsin. Just make sure to give yourself some extra time when you head out the door, and a reminder to have those headlights on. So far, though, no delays showing up on the Beltline yet in either direction. I would plan on things continuing to pick up, especially heading westbound over the next few hours. Other roads here in Dane County not looking too bad. There are a few brake lights starting to pop up on Stoughton Road as you approach the Beltline. No delays downtown around campus. Volume is not a factor at this point. And other main routes heading into the city, they're moving along at the usual speeds with no major crashes or delays. With your first alert traffic, I'm Josh Tim.
Thank you very much, Josh, and thanks, Hattie. Breaking now into the Channel 3000 Alert Center. The World Anti-Doping Agency is imposing a 4-year ban on Russia from using their flag, anthem, and team name in the Olympics. This comes after Russia was accused of tampering with drug test samples. Russian athletes will only be allowed to compete if they weren't implicated in positive doping tests. To sports news now. The Packers are a game ahead of the Vikings at the top of the NFC North after yesterday's win against Washington, but that doesn't mean it was pretty. It's a pattern the Packers seem to be getting stuck in this season. The team gets off to a hot start, cools off, but still manages to snag the win. The offense scored 14 points in the first quarter, but just 6 points in the last 3. Lucky enough, Aaron Jones was all the consistency the team needed, with 16 carries and 134 yards in the game. Final score, 20-15 Packers. And as we get closer to the playoffs, the Pack currently holds the 2nd seed in the NFC.
Change the name! Change the name!
Meanwhile, protesters took the game as a chance to say they've had enough with Washington's NFL team name. Native American protesters went to Lambeau Field to add their cries for change to the cheers from Packers fans in hopes their voices could be heard.
I was always raised in an environment that told me that this is not right at all, and to see it normalized at school, people just wearing jerseys, it hurt.
Protesters say the Redskin mascot has been a problem for over 80 years, and they'll continue protesting until the team name is changed.
Folks here in Madison are sharing their stories as the president approves a plan to limit the number of refugees who can settle in the U.S. Local refugees held a rally over the weekend, hoping to spread awareness of what they've been through and why they came here. While the Republican Party says it's important for the president to assign a limit, the Madison Refugee Union doesn't think it's high enough.
Certainly some years, maybe a smaller number of refugees that need to be admitted. Other years, it could be a larger number due to various world events.
Refugees make the community a richer, more diverse place. They start businesses at a much higher, immigrants in general start businesses at a much higher rate than native-born Americans.
The Madison Refugee Union is also calling for the passage of the GRACE Act, which would prevent the presidential administration from setting annual refugee admissions below 95,000.
Democratic and Republican lawyers for the House Intelligence Committee will present their evidence to the Judiciary Committee today for both for and against impeachment. House Judiciary Chairman Jerry Nadler says his committee could vote on the articles of impeachment against President Trump as early as this week. The Democratic Party is split on whether it should also include obstruction of justice as it relates to special counsel Robert Mueller's investigation of the 2016 election.
I think the case we have, if presented to a jury, would be a guilty verdict in about 3 minutes flat.
There is overwhelming evidence that the president sought to coerce Ukraine into interfering in our election, essentially sought to cheat in our next election by getting a foreign government to weigh in.
As the inquiry continues, President Trump maintains he did nothing wrong in his July phone call with Ukraine's president.
People realize it's a total hoax. We had a perfect conversation. It was only a conversation. Nothing came out of the conversation.
The White House is sitting out of today's hearing, saying it's an unfair process. Democrats say they'll make final decisions on what articles of impeachment to include after today's hearing.
All right, 6:20 on your Monday. Let me get my shower singing voice ready. We're dreaming of a white Christmas. That's a little painful, isn't it?
Oh my God.
Not too bad. Chris Reese is in next. He'll sing a little bit better than I can with whether we're going to get some snow in time for the holidays.
You get an A for the day. Wow.
I try.
Speaking of snow, there's a slight chance to see some light flurries out there. Hattie is telling us when your alert day forecast is coming up next. We're rocking around the Christmas tree.
Oh, so much better than mine.
We'll be right back.
Good morning from the News 3 Now First Alert Weather Center. Fog is an issue this morning. You can see from the camera shot behind me, well, you can't really see anything. Fog in Platteville and all around southern Wisconsin. Visibility is officially a mile at the airport. Western Dane County, though, dealing with some pretty thick fog this morning. Areas like Mount Horeb, Middleton, likely seeing visibility less than a mile. Quarter of a mile in Monroe and Mineral Point, half a mile in the Dells. Now, nothing showing up on the radar map, but drizzle is occurring across most areas this morning. We're not looking at a major snow event today, but we will see the drizzle change over to some snowflakes this afternoon. Amounts likely to be less than an inch for all of southern Wisconsin. So just minor snow amounts. As you go to the bus stop this morning, though, keep in mind temperatures will be dropping through the day. We're talking near 40 this morning, back into the 20s with some light snow this afternoon. And get all of those layers ready. This is what it will feel like tomorrow morning. Wind chills will be below zero in some locations.
Yikes, spur.
All right, thank you, Patty. So we are just a couple of weeks away from the holidays, but a lot of us need that snow for it to really feel like the season.
Yeah, so we decided to ask our resident snow enthusiast, Chris Reese, to see if he's finally going to get to experience a white Christmas. How's it looking, Chris?
Well, I'll tell you what, historically the odds are in my favor. My first Christmas being spent in Wisconsin, well, by climatological norms, I have a 50 to 60 or 60 to 75% chance to see that white Christmas. Now let's go ahead and look at the snow depth that's on the ground right now. Oh, there isn't any throughout southern Wisconsin. Once you work your way towards central and northern Wisconsin, you very quickly run into that 1 to 3 or even 3 to 6 inch snow depth in some spots. But we need some snow on the ground here in southern Wisconsin if we are going to truly be able to get a white Christmas. Folks traveling to northern Wisconsin or Minneapolis, I'm fairly certain you may have it in the bag. Now, one of the things that we need is going to be the colder air. I do think we're going to see that. This, folks, this goes through the next 10 days, and even when we're milder, we're still cold. So I do think the cold air that we need to provide snow will certainly be around. Next, we just need an active pattern. And hey, the Climate Prediction Center says from December 16th through 22nd, we do have a favorable chance of above normal precipitation. So that's good news. Let's look at the models now. This is the European model. It's my personal friend as we go towards Christmas. Here's why. Check out the dates. This is December 12th with a chance of snow. It has another one coming through by the time we get you towards December 14th, and then perhaps a bigger storm by the time we get you towards December 17th. But that's just one model. Now we have to go towards the GFS, which is not as friendly when it comes to snow lovers as the European was, but it still has a light system throughout northern Wisconsin towards December 14th and 13th as well. And then we push things forward. It doesn't have the system on the 17th. But what it does have is perhaps a snowmaker by the time we get you towards the 19th of December. So with that, here are the odds of a white Christmas. I'm going to go ahead and give things about a 60% chance. I'm going to lean towards the fact that we're looking white just because our two big models both do have accumulating snow events in the days before Christmas. Let's just hope it stays that way.
Mother Nature better not let you down. You're going to be an upset young man.
I've been upset for 25 Christmases.
Oh,
so
buddy.
we'll see. We'll see if this one will change it.
We're crossing our fingers for you, buddy.
For you. Thank you,
Thank you.
Chris.
My pleasure.
All right, still ahead for us. We've got the top 3 things you need to know this morning before you head out the door.
And you better watch out. You better not whine. I'm not going to sing this one. We're warning you about a new wine sharing scheme on social media. That's when News 3 Now This Morning returns.
Excellent.
From the Channel3000.com Alert Center, this is News 3 Now this morning.
Good morning, everyone, and thanks for joining us on this Monday, December 9th. I'm Josh Breiter.
And I'm Leah Lynchide. Hattie is putting the finishing touches on her Alert Day forecast. It's one of our top 3 things to know today. But first, to our other headlines. For the 10th time in the team's history, the Badgers will be heading back to Pasadena for the Rose Bowl. The bowl selection came on Sunday. We haven't won a Rose Bowl game, though, since 2000. The Badgers will face the Oregon Ducks on January 1st.
House Democrats will present the evidence for impeaching President Trump today on Capitol Hill. Judiciary Committee Chairman Jerry Nadler says he expects to bring articles of impeachment against the president as early as this week. The White House says it will sit out of the hearings. President Trump accused Democrats of changing the guidelines and not giving him due process.
And finally, the First Alert Weather Team has been warning us about what's to come this week. We're looking at a possibly slippery commute with rain turning to snow ahead of an Arctic blast headed our way. Hattie's updating her Alert Day forecast for us this morning. Hi, Hattie.
Good morning, Leah and Josh. Well, first things first, this morning we are talking about fog and then the potential for some light snow a little bit later on today. Relatively mild start to the day, though. Take a look at our visibilities. Less than a mile across most of southern Wisconsin, so keep in mind you'll want to add some extra time to get to your destination. Now, on the way home, you could be dealing with snowflakes. We're looking at some very light snow accumulations across southern Wisconsin today, mainly impacting the afternoon commute. That changeover from rain to snow will occur this afternoon. Just some drizzle occurring right now in southern Wisconsin. Hard to find any of that on the radar map at this hour. But again, look for falling temperatures today. Highs will be near 40 early this morning. By the time you head home from work, though, temperatures will be back in the 20s below freezing. That could create some slippery spots on the roads. Roads are just wet, though, this morning. Let's take a look at the maps and see if there's anything to report. A few brake lights on the Beltline at Stoughton Road. Otherwise, just getting a little busier on that westbound side of the Beltline right now. Drive times, though, are still normal for this time of the day. No delays just yet. Coming up in about 10 minutes, we'll talk more about that cold air that's going to arrive tomorrow and how long it will last here in southern Wisconsin.
All right, thank you very much, Hattie. So Madison streets crews are ready for whatever our weather brings.
Yeah, this year, for the first time ever, they actually have trucks that have a GPS system to track which roads need attention. Keely Arthur joins us live to explain. Good morning, Keely.
Good morning, Josh and Leah. Yes, this is the first year ever that the city is going to use GPS software to track what is going on out on the road. So they're going to use this to help with safety and then obviously optimize salt distribution, getting all of this out on the roads. Each of the 34 trucks is going to be outfitted with a GPS tracking device that is connected to a screen that people will be able to see back here at the headquarters. And then they're going to be able to monitor where the plows are, what trucks are doing out on the road, and where they should go. So this is what the screens are going to look like. They're going to have a green circle, and that's going to indicate where trucks are and if they're moving. Red ones with black lines represent those that are stopped, and red circles are going to show speeding trucks. It can also show whether a truck's plow is down and whether salt is being applied. City officials say it's one perk to having a big budget like Madison's, but the city does have some unique challenges to deal with.
We're the second largest city in Wisconsin, so we do have some resources available to us. It's not going to be the same as some of the smaller cities around. But because of our relationship with our environment and how we sit on top of our drinking water aquifer, that also means we can't just dump salt on the roads all winter long. We have to kind of carefully manage that.
The city works hard to keep salt use in check. Only 50% of Madison streets are even salted. That's really the main thoroughfares. And even though we don't have a ton of the wet and white stuff right now, we know we are certainly going to have it pretty soon. I know Chris is hoping and praying for it to happen every day now. And a friendly reminder to drivers who are in those snow emergency zones in the city, make sure you're going to follow those alternate side parking rules. It's going to make it way easier for plow trucks to get to where they need to be. And if you don't follow those rules, you're going to get a ticket. Josh and Leah.
$60 ticket. I know for a fact. Thank you very much, Keely.
6:35 right now. We're learning more about just how much overspending this holiday season could cost you. The National Retail Federation says the average shopper will spend more than $1,000 for Christmas. That's 4% more than last year. Consumers 35 to 44 years old are likely to spend the most during the holiday season. Sue Peck just couldn't stand to look at her family's finances after Christmas, so she decided to make a change.
For me, it was always this underlying ugh what's going to happen at the end of all of this? Because I still have 2 more weeks and I still have all these people that I need to buy things for. And
Tonight, only on News 3 Now at 10, Sue shares some of what she's learned by starting to track her finances, and I'll break down the best ways to create a budget you'll actually stick to avoid that holiday spending hangover.
So you might be seeing a lot of holiday wine gift exchanges popping up on your social media feeds, but the Better Business Bureau has a warning for you this morning. They're a scam. Those posts usually say all you need to do is buy a bottle of wine and send it to another person, then share the post on your own social feed. In return, you're promised anywhere between 6 and 36 bottles of wine, but the BBB says this is a pyramid scheme and it will likely leave you empty-handed. They encourage you to report any posts like these that you might see. Now, if you have a question about a wine scam or any other type of scam, a suspicious business, or any consumer question, our Call for Action volunteers are here to help you out. They're here every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 11 until 1. You can reach them at that number that's right there on your screen, 608-270-2833.
Coming up in the morning sprint, we have the very latest on a deadly volcano eruption at a popular tourist spot in New Zealand overnight.
But first, all of the hustle and bustle of the holiday season is a lot for any of us to handle, though it's especially tough for kids with sensory concerns. We'll show you how people here in Madison are still making sure Santa can come to town for those kids. That's next on News 3 Now this morning. .641, time to share Mr. Chris Van Handel's morning with you. This is a picture from Monona Bay. Just a beautiful, beautiful shot.
That is incredible. The colors with the kind of reflection off of the lake, that's just fantastic.
Not too common. We get a little bit of yellow in those sunrises. Love it, Chris. Thanks for sharing.
If you've got a photo you'd like to share, just send it to us over on our Facebook page.
Trending this morning, taking the kids to get pictures with Santa is a staple of the holiday season, but it can be tough for families with kids who have sensory issues.
But this year, Santa Claus is coming to town and working with a local mall to make the process easier for those families. Easttown Mall is partnering with Cherry Hill Programs and Autism Speaks to give families with children with special needs the chance to get their pictures with Santa in the morning before the mall opens to the public. Organizers say this lets kids enjoy a sensory-friendly environment without distractions like loud music or bright lights.
Every family deserves a photo with Santa and a time to visit him, and so sometimes it's just making it a little bit more comfortable for the kids that do need a little bit more time or a little less kind of stuff going on in the background.
Throughout the holiday season, families can round up their photo purchase to the next dollar. That extra money will go to autism research.
Love that they're making a really important holiday tradition a little bit more inclusive.
And that way everyone can be involved, because that's obviously a big part of a lot of child's, when they're growing up.
Of course.
All right, 6:42 right now. We have several alert days in the forecast this week. It's a foggy start to this Monday, ahead of some rain and snow and plummeting temperatures. Hattie's in next with everything you need to know.
But first, it's Monday, December 9th. We want to say happy birthday to Siler, Kaiser, and all of the kiddos turning 3 today. Thanks for celebrating with us right here on News 3 Now this morning.
For a forecast that keeps your family safe, watch First Alert Weather. Look at
Good morning from the News 3 Now First Alert Weather Center. We're starting off on a foggy note this morning. We will have some snow, though, in the forecast a little bit later on today. This morning, it's drizzle and fog, but as temperatures cool through the day, look for a changeover to some light snow. So an alert day is in the forecast. There definitely could be some slippery spots on untreated roads later on today, especially through the afternoon commute. Here's a look at snow totals. This is not going to be a big snow event for southern Wisconsin. If you're looking for a lot of snow on the ground, unfortunately, this isn't the storm for you. Less than an inch for all of southern Wisconsin. Highest amounts are going to be north of the Dells. That's where you could see closer to an inch or an inch and a half of snow. And that's where winter weather advisories are in place already this morning. North of the Dells, again, Juneau and Adams County under that winter weather advisory until 6 p.m. For the rest of southern Wisconsin, no advisories. Now, the drizzle is just too light to be detected by any radar this morning, but it is occurring across southern Wisconsin, so the roads are definitely damp here. It is cold enough for snow already north and west. There's a band of some pretty heavy snow from northwestern Wisconsin back through Minnesota, and that band of snow will be working its way eastward through the day today. Here's a look if you're curious how much snow the Northwoods will pick up. There could likely be a band of about 3 to 5, maybe 6 inches in far northwestern Wisconsin. But otherwise, amounts lighten up pretty quickly as you head to the south. Now look at our current conditions. It's 37 here in Madison. We're not able to see anything from the Edgewater Skycam this morning. No wind chill to report right now, but it is very foggy. Visibility is less than a mile here in Madison, just a quarter of a mile in Mineral Point and Monroe, about a half a mile this morning in Platteville. Temperatures to the north are below the freezing point. In the Dells, Camp Douglas, it's 30 degrees, so there may be some slippery spots on the road with fog there. Through the Wisconsin River Valley, it's a little bit cooler as well, but almost close to 40 degrees, if not above, right on the Wisconsin-Illinois state line this morning. So relatively mild start to the day. We have light winds early today, but they will be shifting around to the west-northwest. By lunchtime, still pretty light winds across southern Wisconsin, but watch what happens by 5 p.m. or 6 p.m. We're looking at a pretty strong west-northwesterly wind around 20 miles an hour. That's going to cause temperatures to drop pretty quickly. So this morning, as you step out the door, it feels like almost 40 degrees. By the time you head home from work, it'll feel 20 degrees colder with a wind chill right around 20. Your future track forecast model calls for some light rain and drizzle through the morning hours. Here's lunchtime, changing over to some snow north and west. And the Dells, there could be a mix at noon. That changeover occurs during the afternoon for all of southern Wisconsin, and then the snow ends pretty quickly during the evening hours. Get ready for much colder conditions than behind this system. Alert days are in the forecast for Tuesday and Wednesday. We're talking daytime highs in the teens, nighttime lows in the single digits with wind chills likely dropping below 0. Here's Yoshimi in Sun Prairie. Honey. Love it. It's got the right idea. Just, stay holed up.
Hunkering in.
Yep.
Boy, beautiful
Protected
coloring.
from the elements. Doesn't look too happy about that picture, though.
Yeah, we're staying in today, too. Thank you very much, Addie.
You're welcome.
Stay with us. The morning sprint is straight ahead.
At Papa
6:52, time for the morning sprint as we get you out the door with everything you need to know.
Wisconsin sports fans are waking up and booking their tickets to Pasadena, California this morning. That's because for the 10th time in program history, the Badgers will be heading back to the Rose Bowl. It's their first return since 2013, and they haven't won the bowl game since 2000. The Badgers will face the Oregon Ducks on January 1st.
Protesters used this weekend's Packers game against Washington as an opportunity to say they've had enough with Washington's NFL team name. Native American protesters went to Lambeau Field to add their cries for change to the cheers from Packers fans in hopes their voices could be heard. Protesters say the Redskin mascot has been a problem for over 80 years, and they'll continue protesting until the team name is changed.
Russia will not be able to participate in the 2020 Tokyo Olympics or the World Cup in Qatar after receiving a 4-year ban from the World Anti-Doping Agency. It comes after that country was accused of tampering with drug test samples. Russian athletes will only be allowed to compete under a neutral banner in the Olympics and only if they're not implicated in any positive doping tests.
House Democrats will present the evidence for impeaching President Trump today on Capitol Hill. Judiciary Committee Chairman Jerry Nadler says he expects to bring articles of impeachment against the president as early as this week. The White House says it will sit out of the hearings. President Trump accused Democrats of changing the guidelines and not giving him due process.
You're waking up to some pretty dense fog across southern Wisconsin. Visibility is less than a mile in many locations, including here in Madison. Keep in mind that may cause a little extra slower commute this morning. Drizzle is occurring right now, but later on today, we'll see some snowflakes on this radar map. It's an alert day for southern Wisconsin. The evening commute could be impacted with some pretty light snow.
All right, thank you, Hattie. 5 people have died and others are still missing this morning after a volcano at a popular tourist spot erupted. It happened early this morning on New Zealand's White Island. Fewer than 50 people were believed to have been on the island at the time, and 23 had already been evacuated. One of those evacuees has died. The White Island volcano is New Zealand's most active volcano.
The FBI now says the shooting rampage at a naval station in Florida could have been terror-related. The gunman is 21-year-old Mohammed Al-Shamrani, a Saudi national who was a naval student at the air station in Pensacola. Al-Shamrani used a lawfully bought gun to kill 3 American airmen and hurt 2 deputies before one of the officers killed him. President Trump hasn't said whether he believes the shooting is terrorism-related.
Officers in Rock County are investigating a shots fired incident that left 1 person hurt. It happened Saturday in Janesville on Highway 51 near Prairie Knoll Park. Officers say someone jumped onto the baseboards of a moving car that had slowed down to pick them up. It appears that person had been shot in the leg. They were dropped off near the hospital but never went inside.
Jefferson Middle School's principal says the school will be holding a parent meeting to talk about how they can improve their communication. This after 2 students were shot by a BB gun on the bus last week. In an email to parents, Principal Tequila Kerr says she shares parents' frustration that notice about the incident didn't come out until later in the day. The date and time of that meeting is expected to be released this week.
After a snowy October and early November, the city crews have had a bit of a break, but they are ready to help you with those icy conditions, and they certainly have the salt supply to help keep you safe on the roads. Of course, safety is #1, but the city says they also worry about the environment and try to keep their salt use in check to keep your drinking water safe. The city is also using GPS software new this year to improve driving safety and optimize salt distribution. Each of the 34 trucks will be outfitted with a tracking device to help monitor plows out on the road. Chris?
Well, if you are dreaming of a white Christmas, this map is just a little heart-wrenching. A lot of the snow depth is throughout the northern parts of the state, not so much southern Wisconsin, but I think we have chances for that to change as we go through the weeks leading up to Christmas. This model showing a couple of snow chances leading up to the big day, including perhaps a bigger one as we get you towards the end of next week. Granted, it is just one model in the mix of several models that we look at, but of course, we're keeping a very close eye on it. In the meantime, if you have been dreaming of a white Christmas, folks, we're going to keep those odds right about 60%.
We love it. Thank you very much, Chris. Dane County deputies are still looking for a 16-year-old girl missing since last week. Lindsay Olson left her home in Bristol Friday night around 10:30. Officers say someone in a black Pontiac picked her up that evening. She was last seen wearing green Converse shoes and an All Seasons landscaping sweatshirt. Anyone with information on where she might be is asked to call the Sheriff's Department.
6:56, Josh Tim has a final look at your first alert traffic. Hi, Josh.
Yeah, good morning, guys. Getting busier westbound on the Beltline now, especially between Stoughton Road and West Broadway. Would plan on a few minutes added to your drive time. Inbound side of John Nolan starting to pick up near the Rimrock and Olin Avenue intersections as you make your way into the downtown area. And other main routes heading into the city is still moving along at the usual speeds right now with no major crashes or delays. Your first alert traffic, I'm Josh Tim.
Josh, thank you.
And keep in mind, temperatures are below freezing to the north. There's an accident on the interstate near the Dells. That's where it is about 30 degrees. Let's see if we can get these graphics to move on past the traffic maps.
It's a Monday.
It is. We will see maybe some impacts to the commute a little bit later on today, especially as we start to see some snow work its way into southern Wisconsin. So keep that in mind. Temperatures will be falling throughout the day.
All right, Hattie, thank you.
Thanks for joining us this morning, folks. Take a little time for your family on this Monday. We'll see you back here tomorrow morning.